Okay, so I will get started. It's 9:03 now. Okay, and yeah, design a reservation and payment system for parking garage. Okay, the requirement will involve a way to reserve a parking spot and receive ticket or seat. Okay, ability to pay for the parking spot. Okay, prevent two people from being able to reserve the same parking spot. Okay, and three type of parking spot, that is compact, regular and large vehicles. Okay, and the prices for garages are flat rates based on time duration. Okay, they are different for each type of parking spot. Okay, fine. So it's a parking spot, so I guess it will be something like we will have a gate in the beginning and people will come there, and maybe they will select their card type, and then the system will tell them there to and system will give them a spot because they don't really need to make a payment beforehand, right? And when they go out, then the system will show them their total amount they are owing, and then they need to make payment and then only they can go out. Is it something like that?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
so I guess what we need, or what I can think is that maybe I'll just write the assumptions in here. So one is that people can, I think most of them are written here already. I'll just copy them and refine them. So way to reserve parking spot, yeah, and then ability to pay for a parking spot. Okay, and preventing two people. And this parking spot and price will depend based on that. Okay, okay, so since we have this thing, maybe I can directly go to the functional requirement, because I think most of the assumptions are already mentioned in there. And so functional requirements would be, so the first functional requirement that I can think of is user can reserve a spot. Reserve a suitable parking spot, sized parking spot. So so the user will be able to tell, right, that what is the size of the parking spot they need, right? Or should the system do some machine learning or something like that to figure it out?
We don't have to go there.
Okay, so I guess the user can say that, and user should be able to make payment before checkout. Okay, so I guess these are the two things, functional requirements that we need. One is user should be able to reserve some spot, and then when checking out, they should be able to make the payment before checkout. How does this seem
Mhm.
to you?
So this will be the functional requirement. Let's see. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah, it looks fine for me.
Okay, great. Then maybe I will think about the non-functional requirements as well. So the non-functional requirements, when a user comes to our garage gate and try to make some request, they should be able to make the request and get a response. So our system, it should be highly available. And also when the user tries to get a spot and also tries to make a payment, maybe they don't really want to wait that long, they just want to get going with their stuff, so we should have low latency. Okay, and on this point I would ask if our system it is focused on some geographical area, or it will be deployed to the whole world.
Um, we can start at local. like let's say in North America for now,
Mm-hmm.
and see if we have time to extend it to the whole world.
Okay, global in future. Okay, cool. And apart from that, I think these two would be our non-functional requirement. What do you think?
So I actually have one concern. What if
Mm-hmm.
two people are trying to access to the same parking lot, like we're trying to reserve the same spot
Mm-hmm.
at the same time? How would this be mitigated by
Okay, yeah, sure.
these functional and
So
non-functional
maybe we
ones?
can add that to our functional requirement itself, that user can reserve a suitable non-book suitable sized non-booked parking spot.
Okay.
Is it fine?
My thought is more like
Mm-hmm.
since like based on the CAP theorem,
Mm-hmm.
consistency and availability will have some trade-off. If
Mm-hmm.
here what I'm seeing is a highly available, but
Okay.
would
Mm-hmm.
you what would you say upon this part?
Yeah, true. This is very true. On this point, what we can do is so maybe in this point, what we can do is actually we can go for higher consistency, but we can strong consistency, but we can trade off availability a bit on this if needed. But yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we can try other stuff as well, but I guess this would be the ideal thing. Maybe we can target
Okay.
for strong consistency and good availability, so
Okay.
we can trade off on that a bit. And yeah, thank you for bringing up this point. This is a good point. And yeah, now how does this look to you?
Let's see. This looks fine to me.
Okay, great. In this case, maybe মনে তুমি উঠিয়ে যাও, সমস্যা নেই, যাও কি যাও কি যাও কি ইয়ে করো, সরি। Yeah, sorry. Then yeah, then maybe let's go to the API design. What do we need here? So the user, when they come, they need one endpoint where they will query to get a parking spot, right? So it will be a get query. Also it could be a it could be a post query as well, because it will actually change the system state. So let's make it a post query, and it will be a reserve spot query. And in that, what we need to pass is we need to pass the size of the car. So car size is one thing that we would pass. Apart from that, do we need to pass anything else? So do we have any user in our system, or anybody anonymously can get a spot?
What is your assumption here? I think
So
either way would work, but I want to know what you think about this part.
I mean, as a business, I would obviously prefer to have some user registration system. That way, we can reward the user and try to keep them within our ecosystem. But yeah,
Mhm.
if we don't do that, we can also go with some token. So the machine, we will give some token, and maybe as a barcode, it will be print it out, and the user can just use that one to later claim and pay and go out of their car for those stuff. But maybe having a user could be also beneficial if they actually loses this piece of paper, then they it will be a hard way to actually recognize them, maybe with CCTV footage and those. But if we have a user, we can keep it in cloud, and then it will be very easy for them to actually claim back.
Well, how about like if it's like without a user like authenticated,
Mm-hmm.
I think what what we could do here is something like when we are inputting like let's say posting this API, we could like also have a field for like the car like wait, what is that? License. Each of the car have their own license ID or something.
Okay. Yeah, that we can do for sure. Yeah.
That's just one. Then yeah, like then even though like when we go to payment, so it's a little bit like when we go to payment, we will also like press into our like the cars the plate number or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Okay, yeah, true, that we can do. Yeah, so it could be a license ID, and you mean we can put both user and license ID and use either, or just use the license ID?
So I don't have a preference here. So first approach, my thinking right now is have like an actually authentication system.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we have to identify what kind of like car is booking the spot or reserving the spot, right?
Uh-huh. Okay,
So
so
it's either
maybe.
A or B, but it's a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Then maybe we just keep it simple for now and go with license ID, and maybe we can discuss that if you want later as well, like how we can fit with user. So yeah, then
Mhm.
this way we reserve a spot, and what we get back is a response that will give us the slot number. Yeah, we can actually do it with a slot number, and yeah, maybe we can select car size or slot size. I mean, slot size maybe is more appropriate. So slot size, it could be a string. License size, it could be a string, and we get back a slot number, which could be a string or int. Let's go with int, and a token, which would actually which would actually uniquely identify this one. But yeah, we can do with slot number as well, but we can do with a slot number as well. That should be
Okay.
fine. But if we use a token, what could happen if we identify with a slot number? Yeah, that also works, but maybe I'll just go with a token, because I mean, these two are a bit different thing, so I would go with a token. The slot number actually has the responsibility of a parking spot, and yeah, all these things related to that. But the token, maybe we can associate it with a payment as well. So those type of thing. Yeah, how does
Okay.
this
So
sound to
sorry,
you?
can you say again what token here is?
Yeah,
Is it
sure.
like a specific ID for this reservation?
Yeah, this is like a session ID. So this is the token ID for this booking, for this specific booking.
Okay.
And yeah, so we can reuse this multiple time to actually make payments. Like if we have multiple payments to the slot number, that also we can have. But what I'm thinking is the slot number, I mean, it's seems a bit out of its responsibilities if we associate that, because of that. But the slot number, if it is unique, actually we can reuse that as well. Maybe this is just an additional piece of information that I'm thinking would be helpful, but it's not that much, I mean, helpful at all. So I'd just clip it slot number. Yeah, does this sound good to you now?
Uh, okay, wait. So slot number is like, let's say I have this car
Mm-hmm.
building, parking garage building, and then each of the slot will have its own slot number. Is it what it means here as slot number?
Yeah, exactly that. And maybe by the slot number, we can do it in this way, that it would also tell us in which level it is in. Like the slot number, if it is 3256,
Okay.
3256, then we know that it's on third floor, and 256 is the number.
So I have one concern here. What
Mm-hmm.
if at the same day, I reserve a slot, not like specific reserve that, just coincidentally me and another person,
Mm-hmm.
I reserve a slot which is slot A. Slot 3256 is in this point, and in this case, and then another person like later tonight after I leave this spot,
Mm-hmm.
and he or she also had the same slot number. How are you gonna tell apart from these reservations?
Okay, so you mean once you are gone and after that somebody reserves this slot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we can do that, but actually, do we need to do that at all? Like when you go out, then only your slot number will be free for somebody else to use, and for
Mm-hmm.
the business logic, we might not need to differentiate them, these slot
Okay.
numbers. Yeah, but actually, it could be helpful for cases where you might come for a refund, and then we need to tell apart like who actually bought the slot for which time. And yeah, for that one, actually, it could be, I mean, necessary or useful. So, yeah, for that one, maybe we can keep this token ID or maybe order ID, either we can call it.
Mm-hmm.
We can just have this
Okay,
one
that
and
makes more sense for me. Because
yeah.
I'm also thinking about what if I reserve a spot, but I want to cancel it or
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
something.
true, very true. Yeah, that way also sort number will do the job, but yeah, because when you want to cancel it, nobody is using that one. But yeah, I mean, so having something like a order ID is itself, I mean, a very good thing
Mm-hmm.
would be a very good thing maybe. Okay, so now we can reserve a spot, and what if the user comes back? When the user comes back, first they need to know what is the price they need to pay. So it would be a great and maybe price or maybe cost, either is fine, and then we can pass a sort number or order ID. We would scan, ideally they would scan the barcode, so we would get the order ID. But we can also extend this one to be, or they can provide their license number, like you said, license
Mm-hmm.
ID. Yeah, so this way also, if they forgot this piece of paper or something, they can provide their license ID, and by that one we can get the price. And once the user knows the price, so maybe we will give it like this: price and double amount. And once the user knows the price they need to pay, they need to make the payment, right? So it would be a post and pay. So I'm assuming there will be only digital based of payment, so there we need to provide the order ID. The payment API, we will provide the order ID, and also the amount that we need to pay. Or the order ID, providing the order ID should be fine itself, because we can figure out the amount and then make the query from the backend side. And once the payment is
Mm-hmm.
done, then yeah, our gate will open, then user can go out. So I guess this should be fine. I think these are the APIs we need. What do you think?
Looks good to me.
Okay, then I will quickly go to the back of the envelope. So what is the number of users we have?
Um, let's say it's like not much. Right now there might be like maybe 100,000 at most per
Okay,
day.
that is daily active users. And what are the number of bookings we have? Do we have any idea on that, or should we assume?
We could assume here.
Okay, so maybe what we can assume is daily active users. That means they are using our system every day, and maybe each
Mhm.
of them makes 5 bookings with us per day. Is that a good estimation?
Sure.
Sure. So 5 bookings per users. Okay, per user, and yeah, then we have 500K bookings per day. That also means 500K payments per day. So this actually means 500k is not 1 million, so it's very small number of queries. I think maybe 10 queries per second, it would be 6 something. So I am just rounding up queries per second for read and write. So the number of queries per second is not that high. So yeah, we can maybe go to the high level design if this sounds or seems fine to you.
Yep.
Then I will share a link with you. I'm sharing in line 60.
Okay.
So what are the primary things? I'll just quickly take another look. User should be able to reserve suitable table. Okay, let's draw a user first and we can start off from there. So this is our user. Oh, I think there is some issue with the thing. I have some zoom issue. I will just fix that one. %, yeah, almost 100, yeah, 100%. Okay, so we have the user here, and the user will communicate with our system. So let's think. I will just keep a load balancer gateway for standard design practice. We might not need a load balancer for this one now, but yeah, I mean having this one could help. And what we need to do, actually, the user makes one request to this endpoint, this post reserve spot endpoint. So let's make that request to our load balancer. And yeah, and when this happens, so we need to reserve this spot, and also we need to answer query about those. So maybe first I will do a segregation of these. So we will have a service which has the sole job of reserving reserve service, so which has the sole job of reserving spots. So for this one we will call this reserve service, and this reserve service will communicate with its database, and it will reserve a spot for the user, and spot for the user. Okay, nice. And then what other things the user can do? The other thing the user can do is they can get the price. So they can get the price with this query. So we can have a pricing service which will do this pricing thing for the user, and it will also communicate to the same database to calculate how much yeah, how much cost is happened for the user. And last thing is, what we need is another endpoint, that is payment, by which user makes the payment. So I will draw for that one. So yeah, this payment service, for this one we can have another service which will keep track of all of this payment related data. And it will let our user make a payout, and yeah, we can, it will let the user make a payout, and it will have its separate database which will keep track of all of the payments that happened in the system. Yep. And this way we can serve the user. I will just copy this one to indicate this is related to this API. Yep. So these are the this is the high level design maybe I would go for. So this will enable our user to reserve a suitable size booking spot, and also user should be able to make payment before checking out. So user can do both now. For the non-functional requirement, we had high consistency and availability. So on this point also there was the thing that so the user we don't reserve same spot for two users. What we can do is we can use database log for this, so that when we reserve some spot for a user, we can make sure that that same spot is not available for another user. And yeah, this way we can ensure that we don't allow two users to have the same spot. And apart from
Wait,
that
can
we
you
have,
say that part again?
yeah, sure. So when we actually reserve a spot for the user, we can use database transaction, and that way we can ensure that the same spot is not actually reserved for multiple users. That is one thing that we can do. And
Mhm.
apart from that, we have the low latency. So for low latency, since we are in one region now, what we can do is we can where the latency can happen when we reserve the service, yeah, then we can get a lesser latency maybe. And the pricing service, yeah, for the pricing service it would be easier. So one thing we can do is we can use replication, so that for the pricing service we don't have so the database don't get overwhelmed by this one. But since we have a low number of queries right now, I think it should not be too much issue for our system to actually efficiently handle everything. What do you think?
Mhm. Sure, looks good. Can you elaborate a little more on the database part?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I can
Mm.
go into the data schema that we can use, and then we can discuss. So what do we need in here to reserve and get price? So we need two things actually. We need to know which spots are free, and we need to know which spots are reserved. So let's have a table free spots. And that one, what does it need to know? It need to know is spot size. I think we use some other terminology in there. Slot size. Okay, so I will just maintain the consistency of naming. Free slots and slot size. Okay, so it will need a slot size to see what is the size of the slot, and it will have a slot number that is free. So yeah, or slot ID, I think we used slot ID. It will have a slot ID that is free. So I think this should be good for the free slots table. Another table that we need is that is reserved slots. Reserved slots. And for this one we need our order ID, which can be a primary key for this one. And we
Mhm.
also need our slot ID. And apart from that, we need this booking time or timestamp. Yeah, we can use a booking time. Booking time, timestamp actually, timestamp. And we can also use a checkout timestamp just to timestamp just to ensure that we also keep track when the spot was closed. And
Mhm.
yeah, when we actually make the payment in here, if the payment is successful, then we can actually clean up that spot for later use. So we can do
Mhm.
this by, maybe we can use a leverage a message queue in here. So the payment service will put a message into this queue, slot freeing queue. and we will have a respective processor. So when we are making the payment, we know the order ID for which we are making the payment. So we can put this order ID into the queue, and later by this order ID, we can actually look up which spot is free now, and that way we can update the checkout timestamp as well as we can make this slot free. So yeah, so that way we can ensure that a plot can be stored as well as can be made free. And the payments table, if we see, the payments table can have a schema like this. So we need the order ID.
Sorry, can you say again about the processor? Is it more like it's what's that?
Yeah, sure. So
Actively pulling from the queue, or is it more like passively waiting for the queue to push something to the processor?
no, it will be actively pulling for the from the queue. Like we will push some message to the queue, and it will be just like a worker, a regular queue worker. So it will get jobs from the queue and it will process. And the payments table, it will have an order ID to notify that we have some order, to indicate which order it belongs to, and maybe it will have a transaction ID, and we can also keep a provider ID or provider description, something like that, to actually note that from which provider we made the payment, because nowadays we have many payment providers and many payment processors, so we can this way we can indicate from which one we actually got the payment for later reference. So
okay, since we still have a little time, I would like to ask about how does that provider part work, because right now it seems to be all embedded in this payment service. Do you have any thoughts on how this route to the external providers?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just draw this one, maybe third party providers. And what we can do is when we have such a payment operation to happen, we can make call to these third party providers, and we can internally we can have a configuration which sole job will be to tell us like by a provider ID what is the payment URL we should use, and also maybe it will give us a schema that expects from us, like what data we should give, like maybe card ID and amount in some specific format, all of those things. So yeah, we can leverage this config, and from the user, when we get the payment query, we can also get which provider they want to use, because from the UI we can show them how you want to pay, and from there we can get this provider ID, and from this provider ID actually we can figure out this one. I am just keeping the config near this one to mention that it's part of this payment service, and maybe that I will just use the provider ID, because it's a simple thing config, and it's not expected to change a lot. Maybe I will just keep it as a JSON config file, so we don't need a database or anything like that for this one. And maybe in the server I will just load it into memory so that we can efficiently query this one whenever needed.
Okay. I have one question. So what if right now is like a busy time, everyone wants to reserve like the reserve a slot right now. What do you think this system can be improved or something to make sure that people are not waiting for a long time? Because since we're waiting for ensure consistency before availability.
Yeah, so one thing that we can do, unless our user numbers or in peak time is too high, what we can do is we can write our queries in a way so that it does not wait for a lock. Like when we are trying to reserve something, it does not wait for does not try to get the same spot for another user. We can write the query in that way, so then we won't have this delay where we try to assign the same spot to multiple people and wait for one spot to be assigned and then pick the next one. So even if we're trying to pick
Mhm.
the first spot for first user, when the second user queries, we will see that the first spot is already being processed by some other user for some other user, so we assign the second spot to the second user. Does it make sense?
Okay. Yes, but I wonder if that would still fulfill the strong consistency
Yeah, I think
non-functional
that
requirement.
would, because maybe I can show you and we can discuss if I'm missing anything. For example, we have this free slots table, right? Free
Mhm.
slots table, and we have this maybe slot ID 1, and we have slot size 2, and we have slot ID 2 which also have slot size 2. Now if two users come to book this slot, first user will use a transaction and log this row. So we can actually, while querying, we can say that just keep whichever row is already logged. So in our next query, when our second user
Okay.
comes, so they will see that okay, this row is already logged by database, so they won't even wait for
Mhm.
this one and they will just get this one. So that way we
Okay.
can actually do as many as operations as the database allows, simultaneous transactions.
Okay. Got it.
And if this is done, did we cover most of the things? Strong consistency, low latency, they can receive spot. Yeah, and about the compact, regular and large vehicle sizes, we can take these into account when our payment service actually when our pricing service actually does the price calculations. So when it queries the database, it can also get like the slot size that is being used, and by that one we can calculate that one in the our payment. And yeah, the
Mhm.
prices for the garage rate are based on time duration. Yeah, this also we can do by our pricing service, because we are storing the booking timestamp, and whether we do it by minutes or hours, we can use that business logic in there to calculate.
Okay.
Cool. Then is there
Cool.
anything where you would like me to focus or discuss more?
I think we should move forward.
In that case, yeah, let's then wrap this one up and swap our
Yep.
roles. Nice.
Yes. I can give you like a quick feedback right now. What I think would be
Mm-hmm.
done better is I think when you're drawing a graph, you can elaborate on how you're gonna to deal with it. Maybe it doesn't have to go deep, but for a database, it seems like right now all of this query was like hitting your database, like and it's a single database.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's like one thing that you could probably a little bit elaborate on, like how is I don't know if this is like a thing, but maybe like specify a like a terminology. For example, like I would probably use some SQL database or something,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think I've like heard like term things, which I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it matters, but I think in interviews they might want to hear this kind of things.
Yeah, true. Yeah, this is true. Actually, I forgot to mention that it will be a SQL database, but yeah, true. And
Okay.
apart from that, did you notice any other things that I could improve, even if it is, I mean, tiny bit? You can just be very blunt and share.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. So there is like one thing that came into my mind, but because I think we discussed that the scalability it's not doesn't matter in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But even though it doesn't have to scale globally, but let's say right now there's a parking garage A, parking garage B, parking garage C.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in like one state, there might be more than one. Um, but it seemed to be like focusing on one parking garage here,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Actually, I could have discussed when the system scales as well, what would happen. This is true. Yeah, and also in the database also I did not incorporate that one. This is true. Yep.
Yeah. Because they came out a little bit later, but it seemed like if it's just one parking lot, since this time probably doesn't matter because
Mm-hmm.
how much it would be in like one single parking garage.
Yeah,
But
this
yeah,
is very
that's
true.
pretty much
True.
cool.
Nice. Thank you.